WrestleMania is just 5 weeks away. And this past week in WWE, we did see a lot of progression towards that card, and what we could be seeing, who may or may not show up. That is always speculative. I've made the case for potentially a huge match with Brock Lesnar and Stone Cold Steve Austin that Jim Ross has really poured like a lot of cold water on. I mean, Jim Ross has essentially destroyed my dream match for this year, and every passing year is even more of a chance that it'll never happen. But I can still dream. I don't think it'll happen. I'm not trying to start a rumor. I don't believe that we will see Austin and Brock, but with the stars aligning tomorrow night with Austin 316, it's March 16th. 316 only happens on a Monday every 7 years, so it seems very fun to think about, but we'll have to dream another dream, I guess, unless it happens, which I'll be the first to come on here and lose my mind, and in a good way for the first time, right? So anyway, WrestleMania, 5 weeks away. And we saw CM Punk this past week with Roman Reigns, and again, not showing up. We have Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill come face-to-face once again in Jade's most comprehensive promo maybe ever. And it's actually not a lot of negative I have to say about Jade this week. She actually, I think, did a decent job. We'll talk about that. If you want the full SmackDown review, you can listen to Amanda, who did a great job covering it this past week. We would love to also have you on the ad-free side of things. If you're not already on Spotify, really encourage you to check that out. We are now being hosted officially by Spotify, and the success of this show, if you want it to succeed, would hinge on people specifically being on Spotify to subscribe. So if you're not on there already, or if you're on Apple and you have Spotify as well, we would love a follow on Spotify as well. It really would help us out. And if you want to see the show fail and you hate us and you think we suck, well, then I guess unsubscribe from Spotify. I don't know why I'm promoting that, but that's just the way it is. I'm a realist. So there you go. If you like us, please give us a follow on Spotify specifically, even if you have us on other podcast platforms. That would help out. Now, we also have a ad-free feed that is on Spotify. It's the ad-free feed, as well as the ad-free feed on Patreon at patreon.com/WWE podcast. We also have emails that we're going to get to, because on our mailbag this past week, we did not get to all the emails. I did it a little early, so we're going to finish those out on the back half of the show with if you have any voicemails, we might have one or two, we'll have to see, and answer any emails that I got between Friday and now. But here we go. Now, one more thing before we get into this week in WWE, and that is on the video game front. Now, I don't know if you're a gamer. You may not be. I used to be really into it. I mean, I'm back to the OG, No Mercy days, WWF Attitude, Warzone, even WWF Raw on the Sega Genesis. I go back that far, if you remember or even know what the Sega Genesis is. But yeah, I mean, I've gone through all the iterations of SmackDown, from Shut Your Mouth. I mean, SmackDown 1, 2, 3, Just Bring It, Shut Your Mouth, I believe Here Comes the Pain, and then Beyond, and SmackDown versus Raw, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I mean, all the way through WWE 12, WWE 13. Right? I don't need to go through everything, but you get it. I have never, ever seen a wrestling game come out that is more greedy and predatory than the 2K26 game is. Now, admittedly, it looks like a very good game. Graphically, the ragdoll physics look like a blast. And maybe you are a video gamer or you're not, but either way, it's important for you to hear this, because it just underscores what a lot of fans have been pushing back against, and that is TKO's blatant, just complete disrespect of fans and doing everything and anything they can to squeeze every dollar out of their pocket. I know that a company's goal is to make money. Otherwise, they don't exist. I get it. But this is egregious. And the way that WWE structured their game, they did different editions of the game. You can download the basic game for like $60, $70, which is standard. And that used to be all that a video game would be, no matter what the game was. That's all it would be. There's no add-ons, attachments, battle pass. That's it. Now, of course, you have, and this is not just WWE, this is tons of games. I mean, you have Battlefield, you have Call of Duty, you go on down the list, GTA. And GTA is going to cost everyone a fortune, and they'll willingly pay it. But WWE this past year has adopted the Battle Pass, or they call it a Ring Pass version of the game, where you download whatever version, whether it's the Monday Night War era version, which is like $120, or the regular game, which is like $70. And even if you buy the most expensive version of the game, it doesn't unlock every character that you want it to unlock. You then have to do either a grind of going through tiers, which take an exorbitant amount of time. And then there's up to 5 or 6 tiers in every season. And this year there are going to be a total of 6 seasons. And you can get the ringside pass for $10 a month. That'll allow you to get downloadable content and certain unlockables, but you still have to grind and do matches to obtain XP to unlock more stars that you want and versions of stars that you want, even though you just paid a stupid amount of money for a game that really doesn't deserve it. You then have to buy the ringside pass to get the downloadable content, but you can do a cheat code where you bypass all of that and just unlock everything, but that's an additional $40 per season. Per season. And there's 6 seasons that they're going to issue throughout the year. That means, and someone did math on this, that if you wanted to go through between now and the end of this calendar year, before they start promoting and developing 2K27, which they're probably already doing, they would charge you, if you did all the unlockables and did the highest version of the game, $794 US dollars. That's over $1,000 Canadian. And I mean, take that and translate it to whatever currency you have. But to unlock everything and not have to do the grind, $800 US dollars, which is double some of the, like you could buy 2 consoles, current gen consoles, for that amount of money. I mean, you got to be shitting me. That is now TKO. And they'll be saying, well, we're just, we're working with a model that others have found successful, right? Like Call of Duty. But they're not Call of Duty. Let's be honest with each other. They are not Call of Duty. And even Call of Duty this year has faced a lot of scrutiny because of the way that they were developed and their development team. I won't get into that part of it because some political stuff there. But they've come under some fire. The way that they developed it, the way that the game has kind of changed and been kind of just reimagined in a way that I don't think their core audience enjoyed. But they're not Call of Duty. Nowhere near Call of Duty. And they are trying to adopt that model because they see that it's going to be a constant revenue stream. And I understand that. It's a constant revenue stream where the fans are constantly paying for a game that they just bought. You already bought the game. All the game's price is like the $60 or $80 version or the $120 version if you want to go the Monday Night War edition. That is just a gateway, a doorway to just pay more money. You're paying TKO and the development core money to just have to earn the right to spend more of your money. That's all that is, because they want you to get in the door so that you can then buy the ringside pass and then go, oh my God, the grind. And the grind is ridiculous. They figured it out where you would have to play 300 or 400 matches to win those matches to get through all of the grind to actually get all of the unlockables. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so what they've done is essentially predatory and make it so that the grind is just so unbearable that you're just like, screw it, I'll just pay it. And they know that. And they've figured it out, and they know that the people aren't going to want to do it, and they're impatient, and they just want the unlockables that they honestly should just be giving out at this point. But you're already paying a stupid amount. Here's the thing. Here's how I'd look at it. If you pay for the Monday Night War edition, everything should be unlocked. Period. End of subject. That's it. I mean, if you pay that much money for a game, not a console, a game, you should earn all of the unlockables. That's it. And that's not what the Monday Night War edition does. And I'm glad that I became enlightened to this. So be careful, guys. You could end up spending $800 on this video game. A game, not a console. And it just continues to support the idea that TKO will do any and everything to get every dollar out of your wallet. It is very much on brand for what TKO has adopted in their policy for WWE's marketing, the ticket sales. It just all falls in line perfectly. They're not marketing to families. Mr. Mark Shapiro, the president, famously saying that the ticket prices, everything, merch. So, I mean, really, Danhausen's, that's the only reason he's here. He's not here to put on good matches. He's here to simply be a t-shirt marketing tool. And so far he has been. And hey, everyone's making money, fine. But that is just the embodiment of TKO's mindset. And they're not ashamed at all of putting that forward. So I wanted to bring that to your attention if you care about that. Even if you're not a gamer, you should be aware of it, because 2K26 is going to be marketed in your face whether you game or not. And realize that it is very much on brand with what they do and how they market today with other things other than video games, which I find just, it's nauseating. And it also fits perfectly in with the sponsors being plastered on the canvas and all over the apron and every 5 seconds. And, it's just egregious. It's gross, actually. But all right, so let's continue here. Let's talk about this week in WWE. And let me start off with the Randy Orton heel turn. I have to start off with this, and I'll get through as much of SmackDown as I can and talk a little bit about Raw. But the Randy Orton heel turn, it was the right call. It was the right call because, I mean, it would have been a very uninteresting build to WrestleMania. You can't have a gentleman's, just kind of may the best man win type of build to WrestleMania for the next 5 weeks. You just can't do that. Or you can, but it's going to be very boring. And there's only so far you can go with that. You have to cut yourself off because of, they're both baby faces. What are you going to do? Well, they decided to make Randy the heel. And hey, I would have loved to have seen Cody. And I think at this point, it's pretty much sealed that Cody's not turning heel at WrestleMania. That would be kind of silly, with Randy being the hot heel coming in and then trying to turn Cody at the event that just built Randy as a heel. It kind of weird. I don't think they're going that way, which is sad to me. I was hoping they'd try to turn Cody because, again, I still believe his best days are as a heel. Cody as champion is simply boring. But there's a good chance that Randy Orton wins here. Not a prediction yet, but there's not a insignificant chance that he wins. I think there's a good chance Randy Orton wins. And wins his 15th, I believe. So we'll get into the predictions, of course, much later down the line. But they made this program much more interesting. And the brutality in which he attacked Cody, I think, was what it needed to be. It was on point. It needed to be vicious. Blood was warranted there. And they did everything they could to make sure Randy did not get cheered. Kicking Cody right in the nuts. Using a chair shot that obviously was extremely safe. I mean, the steel steps took the chair shot. It wasn't even close, but I get the effect, and that's fine. What would have really sold it is if he punted Cody. I think maybe that'll come down the line. The brutality in which he attacked Cody was, the viciousness is what sold it, and the crowd seemed to be into it. I got to say, I'm very surprised, and same with Fatu. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. I'm very surprised that thus far WWE has been able to manipulate and the crowd just being able to go with, like, oh, Drew got screwed, but who cares? Fatu's our guy. Like, really? You sure? And same with Randy. I mean, Randy's beloved. Randy's even more of a shock because Cody, once again, being just shoehorned into the main event, forced in to replace Drew. And having Randy Orton, a beloved legendary babyface, turn on Cody and not have maybe even half the crowd cheer for him. I would say 20%, 30% were maybe on Randy's side. Kind of surprising. Now, this is only the beginning. We'll see how this translates down the road, and particularly at WrestleMania when you have the crowd that is the very vocal, the Monday Night Raw to WrestleMania. Although in recent years past has been disappointing, traditionally has been a more vocal crowd. Again, in recent years, it's been really muted for whatever reason. But the crowds are going to get I think, more and more difficult as they move forward. And I'll have to look at the schedule to see what cities they're in. But if they're in any of the major cities, and I'd imagine they are, then they need to be careful, because if their idea is to not do a double turn or have Cody in any way booed or have Drew cheered or anything like that, then they need to be very careful, especially in those cities, because sometimes it can be monkey see, monkey do from one city to the next. If one city starts to cheer and do something and love something that they're quote unquote not supposed to, I mean, people can see things at lightning speed now, and then the next crowd's going to go, oh wow, that is kind of cool. Listen to the reaction. I kind of get it. And then all of a sudden that crowd does it, and then so on and so forth. So even if something happens in one city, don't think it'll just be isolated and contained to that city, because obviously with social media today, everything's just, everything moves so quickly and spread and shared so quickly. Don't think it won't catch on with the next crowd. I mean, before social media and smartphones, if something happened in one city, you'd be like, oh, who cares? They're not aware. Let's move on to the next city. It's like its own different world. Not today. So I'm very interested to see how things translate as we move forward, how Randy is received moving forward, what the promos are going to be. And now we can kind of go to town. We can unleash the beast, so to speak. There's nothing holding anyone back. Randy can be who Randy loves to be. He can say whatever he wants. Things can now get deeper, vicious, much more meaningful and interesting than it would have been if they were just two baby faces heading into WrestleMania trying to see who the best man wins. That's not the case anymore. So the right move by the company. I really don't have anything bad to say about this, other than just it makes me sad that Cody's not going to be the one to turn heel. It's going to be Randy. But Randy's really good as a heel. Again, another safe choice. Safe but smart choice. With Randy turning heel, we're getting the dynamic that really can open this whole program up to a whole different level and make it much more just emotional than it otherwise would have been if it was just two good guys shaking hands and saying, gosh golly, I hope I win. No longer. So, good stuff there. Obviously, that happened at the end of SmackDown. So, at the beginning of the show, we had Nick Aldis shown reading the WrestleMania contract, and Drew called it out and said, Aldis, you can take this contract and shove it up your ass. And he didn't say arse, which was nice. And McIntyre was then in the ring, and McIntyre said Aldis couldn't help himself because he had to make sure he got his golden boy Cody a title match before WrestleMania. And McIntyre told Aldis to come out and make things right. And he'd say he'd stay there all night. And Aldis walked out and said there was nothing to make right. He said McIntyre lost in a fair contest despite headbutting the ref. And McIntyre called Aldis a corporate stooge. And Aldis said, you don't know who I am, where I've come from. And he added that he knows why McIntyre did everything he could to prevent Cody from getting a fair shot, because the first time he got one, he beat you. And he went face to face with Aldis, and things got heated. And McIntyre told Aldis to make it right or else. So things honestly are way more interesting between Aldis and McIntyre than they are with Fatu and McIntyre. Because as Jacob Fatu interrupted this, Fatu told McIntyre that he wouldn't have been champion were it not for him. And Fatu said he fixed the situation last week, so McIntyre is no longer champion. Fatu said it's not about Aldis, Cody, or anybody else. He said if McIntyre wants to point fingers and blame people, keep it 100 with him. I'm the one who screwed your ass. And he said, what are you going to do about it? So I'll give it to Fatu here. We learned that he can speak coherent English, and he doesn't just grunt and snarl and speak in slang. That's good. He can actually speak like a human being. That's what I wanted to see, and he did. And so it's not really a complaint. That's a compliment. Not everybody doesn't need to speak the same, but I have to understand what you're saying. Jey Uso has a horrible habit of this. How many times did you hear a Jey Uso promo when he's fired up and he's out of breath, and you get every third to fourth word, and you have to kind of fill in the blanks? Well, with Jacob Fatu, I understood what he said loud and clear, and it made sense. So compliments to him. There you go. That'll make him very happy, because I am not criticizing him. I am just being a good little fan and I am going along with the product and shutting up and enjoying the product. Well, sorry to say for him, he doesn't belong in a WrestleMania match with Drew McIntyre. Period. And hopefully, now that Drew McIntyre said that he quit, after he said, you know what I'm going to do, Drew told McIntyre, or Drew told Aldis and Fatu, you know what I'm going to do, I quit. And he dropped the mic, and that was that. I mean, that's not the last we saw of him that night, but he quote unquote quit. Does make you wonder what he's going to do here. It still looks like we could get a one-on-one McIntyre and Fatu story. I don't want that going into WrestleMania, but then what else would Fatu do? To me, an Aldis and McIntyre matchup is much more compelling. That actually has been brewing behind the scenes and underneath the surface for a while. So I would actually prefer that. But again, that would leave Fatu out in the wilderness, and they can't do that with a rising star. So it looks like we're sadly for McIntyre are going to get a McIntyre versus McIntyre versus Fatu matchup at WrestleMania. And hey, McIntyre will make the most of it. They both will, the professionals. But man, what a fall from grace. All right. So we have, let's see, I'm going to continue. The first matchup of the night, which was Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga taking on Uncle Howdy and Eric Rowan. A match, again, this program, I'm over it. I've been over it for months, but they don't know where else to go with these two teams other than just have them face each other forever. And the match ended up in a 10 minutes and 40 seconds with Uncle Howdy and Eric Rowan beating Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. This thing is not only going on forever, but it's also over a stupid lantern. And I say stupid lantern simply because it's an object. It's clearly not Bray Wyatt's original. Now, if it was an original that was handcrafted by Bray Wyatt and we were told so, fine. I mean, this has a little more sentimental value, even though that the MFTs leave it out every single matchup and they leave it ringside where anyone could grab it and just run and take it. So it gets preposterous. And if they really wanted it, they would have taken it and ran backstage or ran through the crowd or just got their own. This is clearly a replica of one you could just get on WWE Shop. And even if, okay, let's give them all the benefit of the doubt. Putting aside the ridiculousness that it is clearly a replica, it doesn't even look valuable. It's something like I could go to Dick's and probably get a lantern for like, $20. All of that aside, even if we were told and we were to believe that it was a handcrafted lantern by Bray Wyatt himself, that still would not keep the interest of most fans with this story. They're after a lantern, but here we are. I mean, at least they're doing something. There were weeks where the Wyatt Six, you wondered if they were even still together. So, hey, I guess we'll take what we can get with the Wyatt Six. So we then have Jade Cargill and Michin in a non-title match. The match went 8 minutes and 25 seconds with Jade predictably but correctly beating Michin after Jaded. And that's when Kathy Kelly came into the ring, tried to interview Jade, but Jade aggressively took the mic from her and said what happened to Michin is what happens when wrestlers believe their own hype. And sorry, we had then say that Jade blew off the idea that she should be afraid of Ripley. She said that she's been told she should be afraid of her, but she said that she doesn't see her as a threat. She's never been afraid of anything in her entire life, except cutting promos in front of fans. But Jade looked into the camera and told Ripley that she would beat her ass at WrestleMania and show why she's always on top. Okay, so before Rhea interrupts, I have to say, this is more from Jade than we've gotten in months. And short, sweet, but some context here. She's being told that she should fear Rhea, but she doesn't. And that the wrestlers are quiet when she's backstage. And apparently Jade does have actual heat backstage. I believe it. So far, she's very much a paper champion, but perhaps she'll continue to prove herself to the fans and to management. There's a very good chance that she retains at WrestleMania, but I am leaning more towards Rhea regaining it. This, though, was good. And in Rhea coming out and Rhea daring Jade to hit her, but Jade exiting, which is what heels do. That's fine. And Rhea then said Jade ran her mouth, but now she's running from a fight. She said Jade isn't the embodiment of female empowerment. Rhea said that after WrestleMania, Jade will be her bitch. And Jade smiled, pointed at Rhea, and walked away. Effective. And I think the better line in hindsight, as I was listening to this, and again, that's not a critique. The segment was effective. It's just something that I'm thinking, oh, they could have said that better, is Jade, I know you say you're that bitch, but at WrestleMania, I'm going to make you mine. Or my bitch, right? That's fine. I mean, but the way it was done, also effective. And they continue to build this nicely. They're not getting physical right away. I would continue the promo building with Jade. She's on a roll right now. And she has some momentum on the microphone. Continue that. I know some people were critiquing, or rather criticizing Jade on the mic this week. Look, what have we gotten from Jade up until this point? Now, what are you comparing this to? This was as good of a promo as you've gotten from Jade since she's been in WWE. Okay. We then have Sami Zayn approach Cody, and the typical segments where, I don't know where they're going here with Sami, and things seem fine, but Cody's trying to read through the agenda of Sami, and so I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know if Sami's going to end up screwing Cody at WrestleMania. There's a very good chance of that. I think Sami is a big wild card when it comes to WrestleMania. He could have much more of a say than we realize. I don't know what they're doing. That's not a complaint. Sounds like a complaint. I like when I don't know what they're doing. But that said, I just hope they know what they're doing, and they're not just leaving it up to the fans to decide based on crowd reaction, or where they start something, but they don't actually know where they're going with it. We've seen that before. I hope that since we don't know, that they do. That's sad to say. That's such a low bar that they have to climb here. But that's the way I'm looking at this. And I think they do, because this has been going on for so long with Sami. He can't quite ever get there. He can't ever win the title match. He's now pretending to be friendly with Cody. So we'll see. All right, we had Lash Legend and Nia Jax take on Charlotte and Alexa for the women's tag titles. The match went 8.5 minutes with Lash Legend and Nia Jax fighting to a no contest after Brie Bella, attacked Nia Jax. I thought it was Lash Legend. Yeah, it was Nia Jax to end the match. And hey, if you're a Bella fan, you're excited about last night or 2 nights ago. That's a good thing. But, I honestly didn't even know that they were gone. Didn't know, didn't care. The Bellas are a complete non-factor. They're not needed. The only ones that need to be there are Brie and Nikki themselves, that feel that there's some kind of need to be there that the fans have been asking. No, we're not. Sorry. Nope. No, we're good. The need is completely imagined by both Nikki and Brie. There's no need. But, hey, I will say that they do add depth to the women's tag team division. They do. And I'm not being facetious about that. They do. But they're not needed in any capacity. But they add to the division, and that is a plus, because that tag division always needs help. So seeing Brie was a surprise. But it's WrestleMania season, and I think as we get closer to WrestleMania, there's going to be some kind of multi-team tag team match for the championship with the Bellas included. So I would anticipate that more often than not, the next 5 weeks of television are going to include the Bellas. So we then have some backstage stuff, Jelly Roll. I'm just too much to get into. If you want to hear a detailed review, Amanda did a great job, as I said. Damian Priest and R-Truth took on Los Garza, Angel and Berto. And Priest and R-Truth beat them after Priest hit an attitude adjustment and South of Heaven chokeslam. And that was it. That's kind of it. And I got to say, Truth does not look right without hair. Some guys can pull it off. Some guys feel reinvented with it. John Morrison actually recently cut his hair and shaved his head. Doesn't look good. Some guys just don't have the shape of the head and actually just look way better with hair. R-Truth is one of them. I have no idea who or why anyone inspired him to cut his hair. I don't know. That was part of what made R-Truth charming, is his haircut. I loved his haircut. It made him feel youthful, playful. And now he just looks like this older dude that shaved his head because his hair is receding, but obviously it's not. I don't know. I totally don't like that. I mean, it was not like Kurt Angle when his hair is clearly receding and he needs to cut it. No, that's not it. This was not a good choice, but R-Truth on television is a plus. So Danhausen approaches The Miz backstage, again, showing off his t-shirt, talking about him being, a top seller, which again it's true. He is. He talked about having a talk show that would replace Miz TV. He eventually cursed The Miz and disappeared. So Danhausen being a little charming, right? Backstage, doing what he does. Very evil, very nice. Fine. I'm so far, I'm eating my words backstage. He's not my favorite. But backstage, he's not horrific. I understand the charm that he brings. I get it. I just wonder about the shelf life of this character. How much longer can he be backstage and not in the ring? I guess we're gonna find that out. And they're making a ton of money on his merch. So I guess don't fix what's not broken is probably what they are looking at doing right now. All right. So The Miz then welcomed Jelly Roll to his show, and he said it was the road to WrestleMania, and he wouldn't miss seeing his friends Cody and Randy sign the contract. And he talked about Jelly Roll's potential, offered to be his mentor, and Jelly Roll said no. And that was that. I mean, it got heated, and Jelly Roll asked Miz if he was trying to take credit for him losing 250 pounds, and Jelly Roll got fired up about how he changed his life and worked hard. And he said Miz should be disgusted for trying to take credit. And Miz told Jelly Roll that he liked him better when he was fat. That was really funny. And Jelly Roll said fat or skinny, he would whoop Miz's ass. And Jelly Roll said he's the locker room loser. I mean, we had Kit Wilson come out and eventually call Jelly Roll toxic. And Wilson accused Jelly Roll of being fat phobic. Again, taking a lot of politically charged phrases and I guess, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of talking points and bringing them on air, which is kind of ballsy in today's world. But Wilson then said Jelly Roll promotes an unhealthy standard of eating standard. And then he got in his face, and Wilson ducked a punch from Jelly Roll and hit The Miz. And so Jelly Roll knocks out The Miz, or knocked him down. Jelly Roll, I mean, he's not exactly a polished performer, to say the least. I appreciate what he's doing. His music is halfway decent. I applaud him for losing as much weight as he did. His backstory is actually pretty fascinating in real life. But here, it was kind of silly. He knocks out The Miz, meant for Wilson, but then doesn't turn around as if Wilson wouldn't try to retaliate for him just trying to hit him. It's a little bit very much choreographed, and it felt choreographed. But hey, I've seen celebrities come on and do much worse. So I don't hate Jelly Roll being here. He's clearly a big fan of the product, and he's put his work in to lose a bunch of weight. He has got an ultra successful singing career as a musician. Good for him. Now, there's another segment at the end, and I'm just mentioning it now before we close out with some of the emails that we had with Jelly Roll and his reaction to Cody Rhodes. If you saw at the end, and I opened the show with this, with the chair shot, the quote unquote chair shot to Cody Rhodes by Randy Orton. Jelly Roll was standing there. I mean, I don't know where he learned acting. It looked like he learned it in elementary school and then froze there, because his reaction to the chair shot and having Cody Rhodes laying there bleeding out was him standing there right next to Cody and putting his hand over his mouth. That's not what dudes do. I mean, we don't do that. If you're his girlfriend, if I was or Cody's wife, that's a reaction that you would have. But he put his hand over his mouth, totally unaware. That does not look good. I know he was going for dramatic, and that's what he thinks the reaction should be. No, that's not the reaction that men give to moments like that. That's not how physically we react. He put it over his mouth. I mean, even the way he did it was very feminine, and he obviously didn't mean to do it. It's just a small thing I saw. I go, Jelly, no, man. That doesn't look good. It's not as dramatic as you think it is. It looks bad. Don't do it. But there. I mean, again, I'm not trying to crap all over Jelly Roll. Again, he has only been here for so long, and I think he's done better than he's done, or done more good than harm. And the bar is pretty low for celebrity invites and kind of one-offs. Okay, Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James. Tiffany Stratton beats Kiana James. I mean, that's it. And Jacob Fatu ends up beating... I'm sorry, Trick Williams beats Jacob Fatu because McIntyre comes in and interferes. And then he ends up claymoring Fatu, which I loved. I mean, I'm totally on Drew's side here. But the crowd seems to be somehow falling in line. It's like WWE has some kind of spell over the crowd right now, when was very certain that they would turn in support of Drew against Fatu and against Cody. But here we are. Now, again, it's one sampling. Many more crowds to go, including the most important of WrestleMania. Things could change. But so far, WWE has to like the reaction they're getting. It's in line with what they're trying to tell. So, and as far as Tiffany Stratton goes, I mean, she couldn't right now be more boring. I don't know. Tiffany Stratton has kind of fallen off the radar here. But there. All right. So that is the SmackDown review. As you remember, on Raw, we did have Seth's masked men charade continue, if you remember that. Again, I don't have any... I don't love that whole gimmick. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, as I alluded to on the Raw review last week with the masked men charade. I'm not a big fan of it. I hope Seth just comes back and he's just like, hey, look, I can't be physically involved here, but I can still be here. This is my employer. I can be here. I just can't actually take bumps. But now, tomorrow night, as I said, big night. Brock Lesnar is going to be there. It's Austin 316 day, or rather 316. We'll see if Austin shows up. You know, if he does, awesome. If he doesn't, I mean, that's also probably more likely than not. But other than that, should be a fun Raw, and Brock Lesnar is the big hook there. From what I understand, the reports are that Brock Lesnar's opponent will be revealed tomorrow night. Which, hey, I mean, I said that's either a good idea, or you have Brock wait until WrestleMania, but they're going to go, it seemingly, with the reveal of Brock's opponent tomorrow night, which we all believe is going to be Obafemi, and then they can build for the next few weeks, more than that, 4 weeks after that, to WrestleMania. Why not? Sounds good to me. So, all right, let's get to the emails that were pushed aside and get to DJ. And he says, I know you're going to get a lot of Cody Rhodes reactions from the title change last week, but I just want to say my 2 cents. Cody Rhodes winning the Undisputed title for a third time was a complete letdown. With the typical shenanigans during the match, from the Charles Robinson ref bump, which just I don't even know if they know that that's a thing they do, but yeah, to Jacob Fatu appearing to take a steel chair from Drew, and then Cody using Crossroads on Drew and pinning him was such a letdown. Well, yeah, I mean, I know what they're going in, and the only positive we're getting from this, and it's a big one, but Cody and Randy at WrestleMania is a WrestleMania-worthy match, but it also could have been any other time, too. I mean, we could have easily got that at SummerSlam, or even Backlash, or Money in the Bank. Like, that's worthy of... It doesn't have to be at WrestleMania. WrestleMania, as I said, doesn't have that feeling it used to, where this is a match that only could happen at WrestleMania. It's like, no, it doesn't anymore. But here we are, and I would agree. Cody Rhodes, it's amazing that he has not had a complete shutdown from fans. Like, the fans have not finally seen it and gone, wait a sec. Wait a minute. What's the best way we can tell WWE we're not happy with this? Boo the champion. Boo the guy they're trying to, tell us we should cheer. But they haven't. They have not fully turned on Cody. We've seen a little momentum gain here and there, but he loses the Rumble, loses the Chamber, and just 6 weeks from WrestleMania wins the belt from a guy that only held it for 56 days. That was more than deserving of carrying it into WrestleMania. I mean, you got to be kidding. Okay. Let's continue. I hope Cody turns heel at WrestleMania. I want him to turn heel. I've had enough of the typical vanilla cookie cutter nice guy. It's time for a change. And WrestleMania better make. Yeah, well, I hope. I mean, it's still possible, but Sami Zayn's floating out there. Don't forget. Sami Zayn could play a big role in what happens at WrestleMania. And you just had Randy turn, which means you're not going to also have Cody turn and also have Sami Zayn out. You can't have 3 heels now, right? So Cody seems to be the guy they're going to keep babyface until the wheels fall off. They're going to run this until there's no more track left, seemingly. What's next for Drew? Because last time I checked, it was reported a month ago that he had re-signed a new contract with the WWE. DJ Kuzma's signing off. All right, we'll get to the Joe Hendry email. Well, for Drew, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit here. Seems like they're just going to go with Fatu and Drew. Could be Aldis and Drew. Again, I'm a big fan of that. The problem with as I said, though, if I'm the company, I'm looking at this saying, hey, Fatu's got some momentum. If we want to showcase our next generation and give him a big platform with massive amount of eyeballs on him, why are we going to put a general manager against Drew when we could have Fatu against Drew? And what you could do there is maybe Nick Aldis be the special referee. And so you have him involved in some way. But what happens is Fatu beats Drew at WrestleMania, which again is a travesty in and of itself. It's travesty upon travesty for Drew McIntyre. And then you have a Nick Aldis, Drew McIntyre match for Backlash or beyond. So you kind of get 2 birds, if you will. All right. Let's talk to a couple more people. This is Curtis from Dutton, Ontario, Canada. He says, I just wanted to say I love always listening to your podcast at work. Well, cool. I wanted to mention today that in being Canada, we don't have to subscribe for the overpriced ESPN service. Everything is still on Netflix. All the PLE and old episodes. Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. You know what? What if the whole VPN thing, because I refuse to pay $30 on top of the other stuff you have to pay for to watch WWE content. I just refuse. I wonder if is the VPN thing still, like if I scramble it with, NordVPN or there's a bunch of other VPN services. If I have a VPN service, will it actually allow me to use Netflix? I wonder. You're making me think. Yeah. P.S. I love to watch a lot of random early 2000s pay-per-views on Netflix, and I really miss the old Titantron so much. Thanks so much. Cheers. Well, cheers to you as well. And I was just so funny. I was just watching a 1999 matchup between Austin and The Rock, Backlash, where Austin didn't get his smoking skull belt back from The Rock, even though he beat The Rock at WrestleMania. He did not get his custom belt back, and that was the hook for Backlash. And it was where Vince McMahon seemingly started to align with Stone Cold. He's the one that actually, after he beat The Rock, gave Austin the smoking skull belt after the match. And leading, of course, into the higher power storyline, where it was revealed that Vince was actually still an evil SOB. One of the greatest reveals of all time and funniest reveals. But it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, I've actually been starting to get into that as well. And you just look at the product, how much different it was. And not that everything was great, but boy, oh boy, you talk about the star power, the focus on the actual wrestling and storylines was just so much better. It felt more organic, more authentic. It didn't feel so produced and polished like today's product is. It's funny. This is a simulation of a sport, right? It's a scripted, predetermined simulation of a sport, but it's not a real sport in the sense of actually competing to try to beat your opponent anyway. That said, it's funny that the more you try to produce and make sure that everybody gets their shit in a sense that everybody's got a cute tagline and a marketing slogan, and that you want to make sure that everybody has their right line set at the right time. And the more you try to like micromanage that to make sure everything is just right, the more and less authentic it feels, because it doesn't happen organically. It just, there's no way to produce something and also have it feel very organic. It's very difficult to do. You know, it's hard. And so the more you do that, the more control you try to have over that product, the less authentic it's going to feel, and it's counterintuitive to what you're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. Alrighty. Let's go to a couple more. Then we'll be done here. Is this... Brogan says, some people are saying that Cody Randy will be the night 2 main event, but I think Punk and Roman on Raw is a much better story. Raw has been pretty good lately, especially the main event of the show, which always delivers. Seth is amazing, but needs to drop the mask, man. It has to be Stone Cold versus Brock at WrestleMania because I set it up perfectly. 316 day, Brock's open challenge, Stone Cold plan to be in Vegas. The fact that if the match doesn't happen at WrestleMania, it will likely never happen. And if they need something big, you get tickets selling. If they don't, I don't know what they're thinking. It would be great if the whole Samoan family comes out and surrounds Punk, maybe on Raw. Well, there's a case to be made for both Randy and Cody and or Punk and Roman. Both have deep stories. That's what's great about both of these main events. They're very safe, but they're very deep. And I hope they pull on everything they can from all the old footage and have sit-down interviews, whatever they need to do. These stories, or these matches rather, are going to be sold on story and promos and video packages. They're not going to be sold in ring because no one's questioning the ability of any of these men who are all veterans. All of them. They all perform at the highest level. All 4 men. So no one is worried about the quality of the match. Of either match. That's not what's the worry here. So what you're going to do is sell it by your voice. That's what's going to sell these matches and get people really ramped up. So it's so imperative that the video production team go back and dig out as much footage as they can from both of these stories, from Legacy to Punk talking on Colt Cabana's podcast. Maybe even bring out some of that damn audio. That'd be fun. Some of the pipe bomb stuff. Just dig as deep and far as you can go. And this will sell it. I mean, it's already sold itself. Both of them are already, I think, at a good place. The both main events are very good. I mean, to me, which one goes on which night, you could swap it out either way. It depends, too, on what the finish is and what they anticipate it being with who's going to potentially interfere. You could easily have Punk Roman. I still believe it's going to be Cody Randy because they still look at Cody Rhodes as their QB1, as they love to say and Cody loves to say. They still look at him as that, and they still value seemingly that championship, that undisputed championship, above the world championship, even though Roman's chasing the world championship. So I still believe it'll be Randy and Cody night 2, but I don't think anyone's going to complain if it's Punk and Roman. Good. It's a good debate to be had. All right, Tom. Final email. He says, sorry for the long email. No worry. It's not that long. Are we seriously going here again? We've seen this before. About a month from Mania, and a beloved star turns heel on Cody. Is this 3 years in a row now? I'm starting to see why Rock walked away from WWE. Last year, he had the angle of turning Cody heel. Cody refused. Triple H backed Cody's decision, and that started friction between Triple H and Rock because Rock didn't like the creative decision. And can you blame him? We're doing the same stuff all over again from last year. We're doing Jelly Roll again. What are they doing with Gunther? No clue. What are they doing with Seth and his 50 masked men? There was the Danhausen crate. LA Knight seems lost. They're ruining Fatu. I think they're legitimately trying to make Drew quit. What is happening? Might as well bring Travis Scott back. Well, no. We can't do that. Travis Scott is the embodiment of what went wrong last year. And Cody Rhodes on the interview with Chris Van Vliet. I mean, Chris does a nice job. And he was asked about it, and Cody was actually trying to protect Travis Scott. And he's saying, oh, no, he didn't hurt me, and Travis did a good job. What the hell are you talking about, Cody? Like, are you shitting me? Travis Scott should never be mentioned in anything ever again, much less be brought back. Travis Scott is an abomination to professional wrestling. He's an embarrassment to professional wrestling. He looked like a complete just jerk. He didn't look the role. He didn't even say anything on the mic. Thank God. You want to tell me that Travis Scott belonged in any capacity on TV, much less the main event of WrestleMania? I mean, Cody Rhodes trying to protect Travis Scott you can't tell me that's real. You go watch the interview for yourself, but what he's doing is simply towing the company line because he didn't want to criticize the company that's making him champion right now. That's all that is. You got to read between the lines. If you give him some truth serum, he would be like, no, that was an embarrassment. Yeah, Cody Rhodes he's such a corporate guy, and I understand he's in between a rock and a hard place. He knows this is going to be viewed millions of times. The Office is probably going to watch it if he says anything bad. Like, I get it because he's currently employed and champion for the company that's paying him a whole boatload of money. So what's he going to say? You know, he basically used HR sanitized language and tried to cover his ass and the company's ass for a complete just destruction and just breakdown of a main event last year. Anyway, WWE better be careful here. They're trying so hard to protect Cody and make him the top star. It's going to be humiliating for Cody and WWE if the fans start cheering for Randy over him. And I hope Drew inadvertently turns face from this as well because they did him dirty just so they have another beloved heel character turn on the Golden Boy. This is why they took the belt off Drew. Really? I have no motivation to watch WrestleMania. I'm done. Well, Tom, I still hope you watch WrestleMania. There's ways that you can watch without paying. So there, no harm, no foul there. But here's the thing. You're going back to your LA Knight. LA Knight doesn't seem to have a direction right now. Danhausen, hey, he's entertaining for what he's meant to be. The 50 masked men I could also do without. Gunther needs some solid direction. Maybe he is the one who's going to come out and answer the call to face Brock Lesnar. Maybe he's the one. We all believe it's Obafemi, but what about Gunther? Gunther, the guy that, beat John Cena in his final match. The guy that beat Goldberg. Right? I mean, like, come on. Why are we not going to get Gunther? Gunther, Brock, it's to me much more interesting than Obafemi. I understand the muscle mass and the similarities in their body structure. I get that. Like, from a visual standpoint, Obafemi's more interesting. But from just purely a work rate and I think respect factor, Gunther is much more interesting, especially as a character, much more interesting than Obafemi, who's pretty new to the mainstream WWE audience. If you don't watch NXT, you've seen this guy, you're like, oh yeah, Obafemi, I know. Yeah. He's that big guy who does the funny walk to the ring, and yeah. That'd be fun to watch him and Brock. Then you'd say, well, why? And the only answer, if you're not an Obafemi fan or didn't watch NXT, would be, well, I mean, look at they're both really big men. They both have a lot of muscle. That's literally your only answer. With Gunther, things are deeper. They've had teases in the past. Gunther's an established star on the roster with years of experience. You know what he can do in the ring. What they did with him with John Cena. Why not use that now to have him face Brock? To me, that's a much more, even just from a zoom out perspective, Gunther's got more star power than Obafemi does. Now, Gunther's not a household name, but he's still got much, I think, more name recognition than Obafemi does. So that's what I would do. Especially if Brock is also about to call it quits too and be done with pro wrestling just totally. All right, Tom, I feel your frustration though. This year, as I've said all along, it's a weird year. It's a year that it feels directionless outside of the main events anyway, which we now know where they're going. And it doesn't look like we're getting a multi-person match on either end, which is good. It does feel like a bit of a ship at sea in the fog in the middle of a storm where we don't know where we're really going. We'll see what landmass we crash into. It does feel like that for some stories. All right, let's get to, I think, the one voicemail. Do we have more than one? I don't know if we do, but let's get to DJ Kuzmo, though. He will close us out for the night, and I'll be back. Maybe I'll be back tomorrow. And here's the deal, because Spotify does do video. They offer video podcasts. I will be doing a video podcast, short one. It will not be 50 minutes long or 60 minutes long. Be just like anywhere between 2 to 5 or 6 minutes on a topic that I want to get out there and talk about with WrestleMania season now underway. I will be doing that tomorrow. So another incentive to, again, subscribe on Spotify. That would really help us out. I'll be posting some video over there tomorrow. All right, everybody. Thanks again so much, and we'll see you soon. DJ, take it away.
And you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name, as I take you to my 86th episode of the Drudge Report. And like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. But let me quickly preface this, that I was not able to record last week's episode of the Joe Hendry Report due to my phone not working. I took it to the repair shop last week with the assumption that it was a battery failure, with the possibility of getting a replacement. However, to add insult to injury, after I got a full diagnosis of the issue with my phone, it was mentioned to me that there was a liquid damage to the inside of the phone, causing it not to power on even though it was charging. And I was told it would take approximately 2 weeks or longer for this issue to get fixed. So all the listeners, please be patient as I try to work around this situation, as I'm currently using a previous phone that I had to record this and other episodes of the Joe Hendry Report. So hopefully this situation will get adjusted in the next couple of weeks, but just please stick around and, do the best that you can to listen to my Joe Hendry Reports. It might sound a little bit rough around the edges because I'm using an older device. But anyway, enough of my sad life. Let's get back to episode 86 of the Joe Hendry Report. And like always, before I talk about Joe Hendry, the NXT champion, let me talk about the continued storyline of the NXT and TNA collaborations with the NXT Invasion in TNA, in which on the previous episode of TNA on AMC, Ariana Grace, the new TNA Knockouts champion and the mastermind behind the NXT Outsiders, defended her Knockouts title against none other than Jody Threat. This match lasted 5 minutes and 32 seconds, in which Ariana Grace retained the Knockouts title as Grace targeted Jody's injured ribs. Plus, there was the typical shenanigans at ringside from Ariana's boyfriend in Stacks, but Jody hit a suicide dive to Stacks to take him out. Ariana would attempt to use the stolen Cobra sock puppet from her father, Mr. Santino Marella, no pun intended, to knock out Jody Threat. This would then lead to a tug of war over the sock puppet Cobra, in which Grace and Threat were battling over it. Threat felt even more pain in her injured ribs. Ariana Grace would once again take advantage of that and go for a quick roll-up pin and win to get the victory and retain the Knockouts title. Also on this episode of TNA on AMC, we got an appearance from the TNA World Champion in Mike Santana, as he was in the ring with a microphone in hand to address the situation/issue that he was having with Steve Maclin. He talks about how Maclin attacked TNA announcer Tom Heffernan, even though in the past Heffernan has gone to great lengths in helping Steve Maclin time and time again. But Santana goes on to say that there is one thing that I've learned, is that you can't save everybody. Santana then sends a direct message to Steve Maclin by saying, I'm going to play your little game. I'm going to give you exactly what you want, and that is for Santino Marella to come out right now and reinstate Steve Maclin back into TNA, so that Santana could put his hands to work and show him what it likes to be a real man. But all of a sudden, instead of getting the immediate appearance of Santino Marella, we would get the appearance of Daria Ray, aka The Suit, the new stern TNA authority figure, as Daria took issue with Santana trying to dictate what happens by saying to Mike Santana, you don't run the show, I do. However, Daria agreed to Santana's idea of reinstating Steve Maclin, and she made it official. But Daria warned Santana that she decides when Santana and Maclin will have their match. But pump the brakes, Daria. Hold up a minute, Daria, because we then get the appearance of the Director of Authority, Mr. Santana Marella, and he delivered a major announcement that Santana versus Maclin will be for the TNA World Championship, and it will be taking place at TNA Sacrifice on Friday, March 27th, live from Oswego, Louisiana. Mike Santana concludes this episode of TNA on AMC in the form of a threat/warning that Steve Maclin has a date with death, as we now are 2 weeks away to TNA Sacrifice of Mike Santana versus Steve Maclin for TNA World Title. And now to Joe Hendry, the NXT Champion, as we fast forward to last week's Saturday, March 7th, live from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, as it was NXT Vengeance Day, as Joe Hendry was featured in the main event for the NXT Championship against none other than the absolute Ricky Saint in Joe Hendry's first NXT title defense on a PLE. This match lasted 16 minutes and 15 seconds, but as we fast forward to the midpoint of this match, we would get the appearance of All Ego Ethan Page as he picks up the NXT title belt and looks at it with intent. Ricky Saints is seen crawling to get to Ethan and telling him to hand it over, but from behind, Joe Hendry quickly goes for a schoolboy roll-up on Ricky Saints. Ricky slips out of it and he delivers a spear to Joe Hendry in the middle of the ring. Once again, Ricky Saints is seen crawling to get to Ethan and telling Ethan to hand over the NXT title belt, but Ethan quickly shoves the NXT title belt away from Ricky Saints as it went near to Joe Hendry, and I guess by accident. Ricky had that WTF look on his face as he was telling Ethan, "Why did you do that?" Anyway, this led to a tug of war between Joe Hendry and Ricky Saints over the NXT title belt, as the referee was trying to maintain some sort of order during the course of this match in the ring between these two men. The referee takes the NXT title belt and places it in the corner of the ring, but while that is happening, Ricky Saints kicks Joe Hendry in the groin area. Saints quickly goes for a Revolution spinning DDT and the cover to Joe Hendry, but Joe kicks out at 2. Ricky can't believe it. Ethan can't believe it. But as we fast forward to the finish of this match, after when Joe Hendry was attempting to deliver a standing ovation chokeslam to Ricky Saints, Ricky wriggles out of it and lands on the referee in the corner of the ring. Ricky swings Hendry to the same corner of the ring as he almost crashed it into the referee in the corner. Hendry then delivers a low blow to Ricky Saints as the referee did not see this occurrence. Anyway, Joe Hendry goes for the standing ovation chokeslam to Ricky Saints, followed by the cover, and 1, 2, 3, after all of these sequence and shenanigans, Joe Hendry retains the NXT title to close off NXT Vengeance Day. And always remember this, folks, if you remember to say his name, he might just randomly appear. And he appeared last night on NXT, the fallout from Vengeance Day, in which Joe Hendry, the NXT champion, was featured in a tag team main event match alongside the NXT North American champion in Miles Bourne, as they went up against the tag team of Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. But prior to this point, earlier on the show, we got Joe Hendry's name being mentioned doing a Tony D'Angelo in-ring promo, in which Tony D'Angelo states that he is coming for the NXT Championship. Tony D'Angelo continues on by saying Joe Hendry might be an NXT sensation, he's got no issue with him, and if this was him a year ago, he'd say they should have a sit down and break some bread. But that's not Tony's MO anymore. If he has to break Joe's face, that's what he'll do. Tony D'Angelo concludes by giving Joe Hendry a warning to prepare himself, because I will not be denied, and declares that I will be the next NXT champion. Very bold words from Tony D'Angelo in regards to the NXT champion, but what's strange here is that even though Tony D'Angelo said his name, Joe Hendry did not randomly appear in this situation. Kinda odd, but a future NXT title matchup of Hendry versus Tony D'Angelo could be a new rivalry that might be brewing after this whole Ricky and Ethan Page saga. Also on this episode of NXT, we got the in-ring appearance of Joe Hendry's tag team partner and newfound best friend in Thea Hale. She was featured in a WWE Women's Speed Championship #1 Contenders Tournament Finals match against Ren Sinclair. Quick match lasted only 1 minute and 55 seconds as Ren Sinclair would get the victory over Thea Hale via the final wrench submission on Thea Hale to advance to the championship round of the Women's Speed Championship Tournament. And now we arrive live at the main event tag team match of Joe Hendry and Miles Bourne versus Ricky Sainz and Ethan Page. The match lasted 11 minutes and 20 seconds as both Ricky Sainz and Ethan Page seeking vengeance after their blunder of a performance with Ricky failing to win the NXT title at Vengeance Day. However, as we fast forward to the tail end of this tag team match, after when Ricky Sainz delivered a spear to Joe Hendry, but as Ricky was getting ready to deliver a Revolution spinning DDT to Joe Hendry, we got some sort of strange discourse between Ricky Sainz and Ethan Page. Ethan was telling Ricky that he made a quick tag to him while Ricky was in the process of delivering a spear to Joe Hendry. Ethan and Ricky seem to be at odds at each other as they continue to argue. Here comes Miles Bourne. He delivers a drop kick to Ricky Sainz, sending him tumbling outside the ring, as the referee is telling Miles to get back in the corner because Joe Hendry did not tag him in. Unbeknownst to the referee and behind his back, Ethan Page delivered a twisted grin finisher to Joe Hendry on the NXT title belt in the ring. He quickly moves the title belt as he goes for the cover, and 1, 2, 3. Ethan Page and Ricky Sainz the victory, but most importantly, out of all of this, Ethan Page pins the champion. Ethan pinned the NXT champion. Oh my goodness, Joe Hendry gets pinned for the first time as an NXT champion, as Ethan Page favored this much deserved victory over Joe Hendry and Miles Bourne. But does this mean in the not so distant future that Ethan Page will get a guaranteed NXT title shot against Joe Hendry? Because all signs seems to be leading in that direction. Therefore, this episode of NXT concludes with Ethan Page and Ricky Sainz celebrating their triumphant and stunning victory. And always remember this, folks, if you remember to say their name in Thea Hale and Joe Hendry, they might just randomly appear. Always remember to believe, say his name. Always remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, at any show. And most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.